Alright, YouTube, I thought I'd weigh in on a couple of the funnier aspects of the GOP debates that were just held. I did watch part of them, not the whole thing though, because let's face it, a lot of the candidates, potentially, the potential candidates who are there, it's just a bunch of boring drivel. I don't want to hear them talk because there's no chance in hell that I'd support them. This goes for both parties at this point. There are still two candidates in the race, Rand Paul and Bernie Sanders, who tenuously, if they were to sort of reframe what they're doing, they might earn my vote back. But at this point, if I were to vote today, I'd vote for the Libertarian Party and encourage others to do the same. Time will tell if either of those candidates get the nomination, and if they do, if they remain feasible candidates as far as the issues that I actually believe in, that I actually have some level of feeling about. There are some issues I don't really care about. At this point, taxation is one of those issues. It's kind of a moot point. Nobody's going to be able to reform the tax system unless they utterly and completely redo it, which would take a lot of effort. And so, while some candidates have proposed doing just that, typically when they get elected, they drop the issue like a hot potato. So let's not hold out too much hope. We got to realize that not everything that a candidate says on the campaign trail is something that they're actually going to follow through with. It's all well and good for Hillary to say, "Oh, I'll improve people's lives this way and that way. We need to get jobs back or whatever." But if you look at her track record, her actual history, it's anything but. So there's no reason to believe that she would actually do that. The same is true for some of the other candidates and things they've said. The same was true of candidate Obama. Of course, what he said at the time was drastically different from what happened once he actually got in office. One of the shining moments in the debate, though, was watching Christie drag out 9/11, as you might have expected a candidate a decade ago to do, to try to prop up his reasoning behind why we need more and more surveillance. Privacy really doesn't matter. The Constitution really doesn't matter. Rand called him out on this, which I thought was good. And Christie, of course, bloated, waddling ham beast as he is, looked like an idiot to anyone with any level of common sense. Unfortunately, the emotional, well, we'll be attacked if you don't spy on everyone argument works for a lot of low information voters. A lot of people do not comprehend, despite the fact that it's been well stated even by the mainstream press. A lot of people remain ignorant to the fact that the NSA has stopped not a single terrorist attack in its existence. It simply hasn't. Clapper was forced to realize this and state this before congressional committee by both Rand Paul and Patrick Leahy. Patrick Leahy's a fairly far left Democrat from my home state, actually. I dropped my support of him due to SOPA, but on this issue, he seemed to be on the other side. And Rand, who, let's face it, he comes from Kentucky, he's fairly far to the right. He leans libertarian on some things, including surveillance, but he's a Republican. Let's face it, he is a neoconservative. He's not a libertarian. He's not a member of the Libertarian Party. He simply leans libertarian on a few issues, which is what makes him a viable candidate, in my opinion, of course. A lot of people thought Christie got the upper hand of the argument. In fact, Fox News, of course, everybody on there practically was trotted out to say why Rand was being disgraceful and childish and all these things. What did Christie say? 9/11. Oh, 9/11's the reason why I support mass surveillance. But the thing is, the argument, the pragmatic or fake pragmatic argument that he drew out to support why he believes the NSA is some great thing, is discredited on the basis that the same organization he's talking about, the same tactics that he's talking about, have been proven not to actually do anything. When terrorist attacks or people who plan to join terrorist groups or whatever are stopped in this country, there is one group conspicuous in absence every single time, and that's the NSA with its blanket surveillance. Never has it been indicated that they had any hand whatsoever in stopping a single person from joining ISIS, in stopping a single attack. They failed to stop the Fort Hood shooting. They failed to stop the Boston bombings. They failed to stop every attack. And so the idea that, oh, well, if you repeal the mass surveillance, then it's on your head if an attack happens. Attacks are already happening. The fact is that the same Republicans that want to go after Obama and say, well, he's not willing to call it Islamic terrorism, seem to ignore those same Islamic terrorist attacks when the NSA issue comes up. Because if they did include those as cases of Islamic terrorism, they'd be forced to admit, despite all the mass spying that we have, there has been recently a fairly high number of these same jihadist attacks. A large number of people going over to fight for ISIS or for some other jihadist front. They're joining Al-Qaeda or whatever. It's still happening. And in fact, every time that an attack is stopped, the NSA has nothing to do with stopping it. You're more likely to see some local law enforcement agency conducting its surveillance through a properly obtained warrant from a public court. They're the ones stopping most of these attacks. The FBI stops them with their warrants that get issued. The NSA doesn't. And there's a reason why. The specific reason is the needle in a haystack argument. The NSA collects so much data, it's impossible to sort through it all. The former head of the NSA pointed this out. People on the Intelligence Committee have pointed this out. Former politicians, people in the military have pointed this out. Civil liberties activists have pointed this out. Law enforcement has pointed this out. Everybody has pointed out. Everybody who matters, everybody whose opinion can be considered somewhat educated on the issue has pointed out there's a very real problem with how this surveillance is conducted. And it is how it is conducted and how expansive it is that actually hinders it from doing any good. But people like Christie love it because it's just the idea they get to spend more money and feel more powerful. They don't want citizens to feel like they have an intrinsic right to privacy because it makes it harder to violate their rights. That's what somebody like Christie, who is a statist, in the strictest sense, that's the sort of thing that he wants. Christie is an utter lunatic. He's not fit to be the commander-in-chief. He's not even fit to get up and go to the bathroom on his own at this point. He's so fucking fat. So, Fox News may have it in for Rand, just like they did Ron Paul, specifically because somebody like Rand Paul doesn't support the drug war and mass surveillance. Boo fucking who. But, anyone with common sense understood Rand made better points overall, and the point being, look at the Constitution. Pretty fucking straightforward. The Constitution does not become automatically malleable in its content and its protection simply because you happen to believe that it should be so, and you happen to be in the government. Not the way it works. Christie apparently wishes that it would. And then the other highlight was Carly Fiorina basically pulling a Christie on intelligence gathering, saying, oh yeah, I think that internet firms, cyber firms of all sorts should be forced to hand over all this data on users because it'll help us catch terrorists or whatever. No, it won't. The Boston bomber, Tsarnaev, the Boston bomber, was ranting and saying openly on his public Facebook page that he supported jihad, that he loved people like bin Laden. He was ranting openly about it while he was being surveilled by the FBI, and nobody did anything about it. I'm sorry, but the amount of data that they are already collecting isn't helping. You think that collecting a little bit more data is going to work? That will compound the problem and make it fucking worse. People saying, Fiorina won the first debate. She showed that she has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. Here you've got somebody who worked in the tech industry, who should know better, who obviously has no idea how computers work, probably can't even turn on her fucking computer herself at this point. She's so dumb. So that was another highlight. And the third highlight, of course, was Trump being Trump and saying whatever the hell he wanted because he doesn't care. He at this point, Donald Trump is rich enough so he doesn't care about getting donations. He doesn't even have to be a viable candidate to stick in it till the end. He can run on an independent platform and absolutely fuck up the entire election. He doesn't care. If he doesn't get the nomination, he probably will run as an independent, regardless of what some optimistic people like Karl Rove may want to think. Yeah, he may very well do that. More power to him if he does. It'd be hilarious to see the Perot-style results. It'd be absolutely hilarious. Kitty, don't get yourself stuck, please. Okay. She's getting her paws stuck on the screen window. She does it constantly. She does it to get attention. But anyway, as for Trump, he doesn't care what others think, and people are overlooking one of the more important things that he said. He admitted openly that he basically buys elections. He stated openly, yeah, the election system in this country is broken. It makes no sense, and rich people buy the elections. Well, I know that. A lot of other people know that. But to have a potential presidential contender come out and state it openly, a Republican nonetheless, to say it, is very, very funny. In fact, it almost makes me want to give him some level of respect. I think he's a loony. Some of his ideas clearly won't work. He'd be a disaster for this country on the diplomatic end. But at the same time, would he be beholden to other people in what he wants to do and sort of hide what he really feels in order to get donations? I think it's becoming more and more clear he may not be willing to do that. That alone may really, really challenge some of these other Republican candidates. Here you've got a business insider with hundreds of millions of dollars who has donated profusely to various campaigns. Some of the other people on that stage have received donations from Donald Trump. He's going to hold that over their heads. He'll probably start forcing other people out of the race. They'll say, oh yeah, remember that conversation you had at this rich location full of blue bloods? Oh, I recorded the whole thing. I've been planning this the whole time. You might as well drop out. Be funny. Be hilarious as hell. And he's done it to the left too. Another thing that people are saying about Trump is, oh, well, one of his businesses was involved with abortion, with Planned Parenthood. Oh, no, it's horrible. So, I don't think Donald Trump really cares about the abortion issue. He doesn't at the very least, he doesn't come off as an evangelical. A war hawk, yes. Far right on some of the fiscal issues, yes. Moral issues, maybe, kind of. A few of them. As far as being an evangelical, though, no, he's really more of a Goldwater style, like, corporate Republican. Which I think it's superior to, like, sort of the neocon light establishment. It's superior to, like, the evangelocon T-billies, somebody like Huckabee or Santorum. Would I vote for him? No, but at the same time, he is telling the truth about campaign finance. And it's interesting to see that it was said by a Republican on the Republican debate, on Fox News nonetheless, and taken seriously by the millions of people watching. That's pretty fucking funny. And everybody ignored it. In fact, they apparently thought he was joking. I don't think he was joking. I think he's going to trot that out again, ram it home, and I think people are going to start to sweat a little bit because a lot of them will realize, oh shit, last time around I took $500,000 from Trump. Oh shit, I remember I invited him to my home a couple times. What if he bugged my home? I better check my emails Hillary Clinton style at this point. You could have something like that happen. It would be very funny if he was just sitting there to infiltrate the political system and he said, all of a sudden he stands up in front of the American people with a stack of papers and says, oh, I got some emails you can read. Yeah, from every other candidate here and in the Democratic Party. Oh, it'd be hilarious. And sink so many careers. It'd be a great thing to happen. The best way to take down the U.S. political system from the inside would be to be very, very rich, pretend to be absolutely corrupt and criminal in almost every possible way, just donate money left and right, play the game, and then come out and do this, exactly what Trump's doing. Now, time will tell if he's intending to do something like that or if he's just sort of stroking his ego. But the difference is the last time he ran, Trump was never taken seriously by anyone. He was seen basically as a laughingstock. But in retrospect, a lot of the people in the Republican Party this time around are taking him seriously. He never broke 5% in the last go-around. I think he ran before that as well, basically the same result. Now he's up around 30% in the Republican Party, far and away above any of the other candidates. Time will tell if it stays that way, but it is astonishing, you have to admit, that he's up there. I think he's, again, crazy. Although, some of the things that people are trying to levy against him as criticism, oh, he's part of the war on women, he's misogynistic, he's a bigoted asshole or something. Not really. He really just has a really loose mouth and tends to say exactly what he wants to say while insulting others because he's got a huge ego. He doesn't give a fuck. He's rich. He doesn't care what you think of him. He doesn't. He can buy and sell most of the other candidates that are up on stage with him. Hillary Clinton is the only other person in the race at this point with the same level of wealth that he has. He's a true one percenter. The difference is he's unrepentant about it. He wants you to know that he's rich. He finds it funny. So those are some highlights from the Republican debates. I did not like what Fiorina said regarding surveillance. I think Christie is an asshole. Rand got the better of him. And Trump's at least interesting to listen to. Does this make me support him? No, but he's interesting in the manner that like Mike Gravel was. You remember back in 2008, Mike Gravel ran as sort of a Bernie Sanders light, an extreme progressive at the same time, very, very much anti-war. Actually, I think it was 2004. I think it was 2004, and he was running in the primary then. He called out Kerry as being essentially a war hawk in a peacenik's clothing, which turned out to be true, by the way. I don't even know if Mike Gravel's still alive. He had that famous ad where he just sat by the river, takes a rock, throws it in the river, looks into the camera for a minute, and then walks away. And he probably found that very funny. He was doing, Q&A sessions in people's dorm rooms and traveling around Coach. Nobody took the campaign seriously, but it was an interesting shakeup. It was something at least interesting to listen to. Most of what you get from establishment candidates, from the Hillary Clintons, the Rick Perrys, the Jeb Bushes, is a bunch of canned, rehashed material that you hear over and over every election cycle. You know it's prepackaged. You know that they're just saying whatever they can say to get elected. Then along comes Donald Trump. He probably does not care if he gets elected. He probably also doesn't expect to be elected. But he's so rich, he doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care what you think about him. He doesn't care what Megyn Kelly thinks about him. He doesn't care what the Democrats or any of the other Republicans think about him because he's so rich. He doesn't give a fuck. And again, he's probably donated to enough of their campaigns that some of them, they may hold off attacking him specifically because they're worried he's got some sort of dirt on them. I think that would be very funny indeed. So, that's about all. Peace out.